We just got a brand new overview trailer for Mario & Luigi Brothership, showing us tons of new gameplay, and even the previews have been out, giving us even more gameplay than ever before, showing us some things that we have yet to see. So of course, there's a lot of information to go over, so let's not waste any more time. But before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, because a lot of you watching are not yet subscribed. And if you want to stay up to date on all things Mario & Luigi Brothership, you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed here, because we are going to be covering this game from start to finish. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Without further ado, let's dive into all the details that you missed with the new information on Mario & Luigi Brothership. Right off the bat, there seems to be tons of little quick time moments and story cutscenes that you get to actually interact with. Like you have to mash B to get Luigi unstuck from this fence. But he's also very emotional, and there's lots of animation in this game. It's so expressive, especially when he's crying for joy or something and hopping in Mario's arms. This next scene, we see Mario and Luigi battling that plant boss, and there's something really interesting here. We can see Luigi spinning the boss by his tongue before launching him all Mario 64 Bowser style. And this doesn't seem to be a bros attack. This seems to be something very specific for this boss only. So maybe there's specific attacks that Mario and Luigi can do when the boss is weakened in order to finish it, or maybe just specific attacks in general that they can do for specific bosses, which is so incredibly cool. Like if every boss has one or two special moves that you could do with it, that would be amazing. But it looks like Luigi has to toss it straight forward where the giant gusts of wind are, maybe in order to keep it going, where Mario will then grab it on the return and fling it even further. It's hard to say, but it seems to be some type of depth to the level itself. We then have a sea map that we get to traverse, and you can see the areas with the lines that we can go, the routes that we can take, and the different branching paths that we can go on. There's probably islands surrounded all around this area. Now, it is unknown if there's going to be multiple different seas, or is it just the lush green sea? And how does this all work? Do we actually have to sit on the ship and wait for it to arrive to its destination, kind of Wind Waker style? Very interesting, but at the bottom right, we can actually see you can press X for faster sailing on. We do get to see a couple new areas, although they don't really have super unique names, like the Rainforest Island, which is just an island that's in a rainforest. You can see tons of red and green coins it looks like Mario and Luigi have to collect, and lots of exclamation mark blocks that'll probably retract the vines coming out of the walls and coming out of the floor. And we finally get a name of that desert that we've seen a couple of images of, and it's called the All Sand Island. And it seems to be a mixture of sand and factory things like gears laying around about. But yeah, it's a pretty cool looking area with a little oasis and palm trees, and also this weird dolphin sandfish, shower thing. Yeah, it's strange, but I love it. This location seems to be based on the sea, as you can see coral and starfish all over the place, and it seems like there's some type of DJ club that we can enter as well. And it looks to have an octopus with a record on the sign, so I wonder if this is DJ Octavio? Come on, that'd be awesome. You can also see Luigi just hanging out and having a drink out of a coconut or some type of bowl, and yeah, I don't know what this is referring to or what this is. You can even see a little NPC holding out a plate of food to him. It's just hilarious. So I wonder if this game is just going to have tons of cutscenes and little animations like this in between some of the bigger story beats, which would be so awesome. You can also see NPCs once again helping you out with your gear, just like the past games, where Maykit is offering to help you with the shape of your hammers, and Spiralia will help us get glammed up to the max, whatever that means. But we can also see a pipe block to the left, which is something that I don't believe we've seen since Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, which would allow the bros to meet up with each other if the older and the younger bros were too far apart. So it does make me wonder if maybe Mario and Luigi can separate from each other, and you'll need to call each other back in certain areas. We also have a 4-person group of plug NPCs, which seems to be a part of some gang or something. They all have this kind of orange and yellow bandana or ribbon on them, which is interesting because this is the same color bandana that we've seen Peach use, so maybe Peach actually joins their gang and helps them out on little adventures around the islands. Now, the main villain seems to be named the Socket, and his group being the Extension Corps, but something makes it seem like these aren't just the only villains. It's the way they even introduced them, like clashed with the Socket and his minions. Like, it doesn't really feel like they're the grand ending. Now, we do know that Concordia was once a supercontinent that was broken apart by a mysterious entity, and I wonder if this is Socket and his Extension Corps, but it doesn't sound right. If anything, they all feel like henchmen. Even Socket himself, even looking like the main villain, I think it's just a henchman to something bigger and grander and scarier, which makes me so excited because I love love stories with unique villains like this, and it makes it super interesting. So I hope Socket isn't just the only bad guy. I really hope there's some type of mysterious force or something a lot bigger, creepier, and dangerous that we had to fight later on. But it definitely looks like they're going for a darker route with the story here. Also, this is completely random. I just glossed over this scene in the very beginning, but there seems to be dynamic camera angles this time, kind of going in the front of the bros, behind the bros, on top of the bros, beside the bros, all over the place. I love that. It definitely makes it feel even more 3D than ever before. And we can see a couple of boxes all Crash Bandicoot style laid around in the area. This seems to be the main ship of the game, and it seems to be moving as well. You can even see it moving in the background as the bros are running towards the camera. So yeah, I really do think that you'll have to kind of just play around on the ship and go do different things as you wait for it to arrive at the island that you're waiting for. Then we get a scene of Bowser dropping down his clown car and his Koopa Troopa army with Kamek, and in the background you can see Bowser's castle in this game, and it seems to be an explorable area. As you can see, symbols of Mario and Luigi everywhere with question blocks to hit, so it seems like we're able to actually explore this area, and there's even going to be a Bowser boss fight, which we'll get into later. In the next scenes, we get to see Mario and Luigi adventuring, and you can see Mario get a nut item and Luigi get a 1-up mushroom, which we know the nut heals both party members. But they do show a lot of moments now where Luigi has context-sensitive areas, and I've talked about this before, where specific areas, Luigi will get an exclamation mark and kind of act independently from Mario, where it seems like the computer will take some control of him, move him in specific areas, or he'll do a specific task by himself, allowing Mario to go separate. In this one, you're trying to sneak through some underground area as Luigi's in a barrel and Mario's hiding behind it, all Zelda style. This one has Luigi plucking vegetables alongside Mario in order to pull them out the ground, and if you look closely, the vegetables actually have little prongs as if they're plugs plugged into the ground. And this next one has Mario and Luigi collecting orbs of light, where Luigi will actually work independently, and they seem to be fireflies based off of light bulbs. In the next scene, we get to see them use bros moves, where Mario and Luigi will clap hands and then just sit there and hold hands together, which is so funny, and then they'll spin around and do the bros UFO. And you can continue to run together holding hands after and before the actual move starts, which is so funny. We then can see the bros ball make a return from Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, where Mario and Luigi will roll up in a ball, allowing you to go through little pipe sections and probably other areas of the map. Now onto battling. We get to see the intro to a battle as the bros running onto the battlefield. And you can see the creature seems to be some type of mole with some rock fist and a weak spot on its head, and some type of onion looking creature. The mole is called a Gardarm and looks like a baby or a smaller version of the giant one that we're going to see as a boss battle. The next area, we get to see some more little onion dudes, but they seem to be green this time around, and we can see what happens if Mario and Luigi mess up their attack, where Mario will just throw a stick for slight damage and the back of the hammer will hit Luigi. We also get to see some dodges where Mario and Luigi has to hop over a rolling boar between both of them, and then one of the plugs actually has a little plug sword arm, and you have to wait for it to spark to show that it's about to charge, and that's when you use your hammer. We also see a robotic bird that stretches out its neck, and we have to hit it back with our hammer. We have chameleons that kind of look like the ones from Partners in Time, but they're definitely different, but they disappear and walk towards you, and you have to know when the right time is to jump. And also, here's that big shower sandfish creature. So creepy, but so creative, how it's like pouring water on itself, I guess to keep it cool in the desert. Now here's something pretty cool. It doesn't seem like there's badges in this game, but this time they're called plugs, and they seem to be little abilities that you can attach that will actually happen in battle. There seems to be ones based on attacks, defense, and another category as well. And it seems like you can only attach them based on the amount of outlets that you have. If you only have 2 outlets, you can only choose 2 of them at a time. And it seems like once you use them, they're gone for good until you collect more, as you can see them say 10 out of 10 or 15 out of 15. At the bottom it says number of charges, so maybe it's something that charges up over time, or you have to find more of it as a collectible. It's hard to say, or maybe even purchase more from the shop, but we get 2 descriptions that we can read. One says the surprise iron ball. When you get an excellent rating with a jump or hammer attack, an iron ball drops on the target to deal more damage, and this is coming straight from Mario & Luigi Dream Team. And we can read kaboom attack. Get an excellent rating with a jump or hammer attack to also damage nearby targets, so probably like a big shockwave with your hammer. But we can see one that says dizzifying attack, which probably makes your enemies dizzy if you get an excellent. You can see one that says anti-flying specialist, probably being really good for flying enemies. Anti-spike specialist, probably being really good for spiked enemies, maybe even allowing you to use a jump attack on them. And then damage shield, which probably allows you to gain more shields or decrease the shields of the enemy. We can then see Mario use Surprise Iron Ball. After getting an excellent attack with his hammer, a spike ball will drop down from the sky, hitting the enemy. We then see the bros fighting a bunch of Goombas and using what seems to be the Kaboom attack, where it causes a shockwave after Luigi gets an excellent jump attack. We also see Luigi using one called Auto Mushroom. I guess after an excellent attack, it allows Luigi to give Mario a mushroom. And we get to see another Kaboom attack where Luigi uses his hammer to cause a shockwave amongst tons of Koopa Troopas. Also, there's a lot of enemies on this stage. In fact, there's 6 Koopa Troopas in total, which seems to be a dream team amount of enemies. Now we get to see some bros attacks, and this one seems to be used on either a mini boss or a main boss called Mega Snaptor. He also has a different unique looking health bar than the regular enemies, which makes me think it is some sort of boss battle. We can then see Mario's list of bros attacks at this point in the game. It seems to be early, he only has 2, as he has the red shell, which we've seen thousands of times, but he also has an egg called Hatch Me If You Can. This sounds like the Smash Egg from Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, where it was an egg where Mario and Luigi would both take turns kicking at enemies until eventually it broke open, revealing an item if you were lucky. Also, I wanted to talk about the background here, which is pretty interesting. You can see a giant water tower with tons of different pipes with Luigi's symbol all over them, probably meaning Luigi has to flip and turn the pipes in order to get the water flow all the way throughout the rest of the pipe. We can then see an attack that looks like Bomb Derby from Mario and Luigi Dream Team, where Luigi will continuously chuck bombs at Mario as he chucks them at the enemies with his hammer, but it seems like the last bomb this time around detonates with tons of rockets that charge towards the enemies. Also, if you look closely, the bros seem to be fighting a Fire Bro, a Hammer Bro, and a Boomerang Bro. Now we have a couple more scenes towards the end of the trailer. We see Bowser and his whole entire army rushing a giant floating castle that seems to be from the socket. Bowser's even holding scrap of one of the enemies that have been flying towards him, and he's firing off in his clown car as well, just a giant war in the sky, which shows that Bowser, even though we're going to be fighting against him and some of his army, he is going to be an ally to some extent. And of course, it's not a Mario and Luigi game without that floating castle, so I'd be willing to bet that this is towards the end of the game. But what's very interesting here is there seems to be 2 giant targets on the crab-like pinchers coming out of the arms of the giant statue, and I'm wondering if we have to target those in some way, almost as if maybe we can control Bowser in certain scenes. I really hope so. That'd be so awesome to have kind of like a clown car battle in the sky where we actually get to fire and take down the castle. It then looks like we have a boss battle against a giant barrel. I could be wrong and maybe it's not a boss, but I definitely do think it is in some capacity. But it seems to be named Sharp Cask, and it looks like there's also another ball-specific attack thing that you get to do where you're dropping crates on top of him and have to move him left and right. Once again, I really am going to lose my mind with excitement if there are boss-specific attacks. And like I said with the giant plant of flinging him with his tongue, maybe this is this boss's specific attack that you get to do every now and then, or maybe towards the end of the battle. And I love it so much. We then get to see the bros using the bros ball to collect some music notes on these little barred paths that they get to jump across and ride over. We then get to see the bros doing some breakdance rhythm game, which is pretty cool, where you have to press the buttons at the right time in order to get music notes to appear. We see one NPC that takes Egad's place as a scientist and has some type of rocket being controlled by a remote, where you have that crew of 4 NPCs riding it. This scene is pretty exciting because we get to see that Toad's return. No, but seriously, Starlow's back, which is super exciting, coming all the way back from Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside story and has been around ever since. So maybe she's just following around Peach during this adventure, and it also makes me wonder, could we be playing as Peach in a side story with Starlow's help? It's hard to say, but man, that would be so cool. Now we do know that Heat Freeze Island has 2 tribes that are going against each other, and this seems to be both the king and maybe the queen of those 2 tribes, and they seem to be either having a bicker or maybe getting to know each other a lot better here. We probably have to bring them to each other and help them to mend things. Very similar if you just played Echoes of Wisdom with the 2 Zora tribes. We then get to see that at the end of Bowser's castle area, there's an actual Bowser boss battle, and he seems to have some attacks that kind of reference some things that he's done in the past. For instance, he can control his enemy army and send different types of enemies at the bros, like paratroopas that we probably have to wait and let them fly over us, and Goombas that we have to jump on, and even Bob-ombs that we have to jump over. What's pretty interesting here is Bowser Jr. is not there to help Bowser, which is weird when he was standing right beside him. Maybe Bowser Jr. had a change of heart for some reason before this battle? What's interesting is it actually cuts from the middle of the battle and shows us Bowser Jr. and Kamek outside, where Kamek is telling Bowser Jr., "True allies are with you for life." And Bowser Jr. clearly looks sad about something, so maybe this is continuing like a story arc that he was having in Bowser Jr.'s journey, and maybe even giving him some more lore, which is really cool. We then go right back into the battle where we see Mario and Luigi just absolutely beating the heck out of Bowser, just smacking him around with the hammers, and it kind of reminds me of the end scene with the Mario movie. But it seems like there might be some type of finisher moves and stuff you get to do to the boss, which, oh my gosh, this game is so good. We then see a scene of Mario and Luigi flying through the air while holding hands, kind of like the way they enter the world in the first place, and I do wonder if this is the way they make it to that giant castle in the sky. And then the trailer ends with the ship actually hauling the different islands back with it, which is so interesting because it's probably about us rebuilding that giant supercontinent that once was, so we have to take all the islands with us after we find the tower on each one to chain to our ship. Such a really cool concept, and I really do enjoy this. Okay, that was just the overview trailer, but we're just getting started because the previews came out at the same time as well. So yep, we have more gameplay for you and some other things as well, so kick back, relax as we dive into some actual gameplay from Nintendo Life and Nintendo. Now you can check out their channels to watch all the actual gameplay because it's just way too much. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but I'll touch on some things that I found to be very interesting. For one, the ship does constantly move, and you can look out for islands by using the telescope on the front of the ship. For instance, this one is a new one called Merry-Go Island. But if you look at the map at the top left, what's very interesting about this is it very much reminds me of not just Wind Waker or Phantom Hourglass, but also Spirit Tracks, where it looks like you'll constantly be on a path, and you might even have to ward off enemies or maybe even other pirate ships as they come on. Be on the lookout for islands, and also make sure you can get on the right paths to move to the next areas. We can see syrup jars making a return, which helps to increase your BP. We can see a new plug called Easy Peasy Counters, which gives you a bigger hammer and allows you to float longer in the air in order to dodge attacks. You can also see the level up screen, which shows it's very much like Paper Jam, showing you how many levels are left until you level up. And your level up reward is handled in the same way as well. This rank up bonus shows what raises every single time you level up a lot more, like your HP, your defense, your speed, your gear, or even quick leveling, which quick leveling apparently increases XP by 20%, which to me is a no-brainer choice. But also, gear slot is always a really good choice in order to wear more gear. Speaking of gear, we get to finally see some gear shown off, and we see some things returning like so-so boots and the discount boots, of course, and stuff that we've seen from past games, which is some very low-level gear. There's not a lot to talk about here. You buy new gear and equip it based on Mario or Luigi. Also, when characters speak, they now have little gibberish that you can hear. Based on the item list, we can also see refreshing herbs make a return that cures status effects. There also seems to be little missions or side quests or maybe even main parts of the story that you get to do, like this one. You have to carry this character because she doesn't want to get touched by the little worms on the ground, so you have to keep passing her back and forth between Mario and Luigi. For instance, if Mario gets to high ground, you have to pass it to Luigi to let Mario jump because you can't jump while holding the character, which is pretty unique and definitely different. Something else we get to see is that pipe block being hit that actually brings up a pipe, which is not necessarily what I thought it was. It seems to be a pipe where Mario and Luigi get to stand on in order to warp to another part, which we've definitely seen in the past as well. We also get to see what it looks like when the bros activate a tower by flipping the plug in order to light the top of the tower. Now this is something that Reese on Twitter was able to find, and it absolutely blew my mind. There is a giant statue or stone out in the sea with a shroob floating in the water? What? Why would this even be here? This seems to be in a different land altogether. This seems to be a cute little reference to Partners in Time, but maybe it's more? Maybe there's some type of other Easter egg or small thing that's going to happen in this game, but I really was hoping for Easter eggs in this game that referenced past games, and it looks like that's what we're getting. I really hope this is some type of island that we get to explore with maybe some shrubs that are there, or something along those lines would literally make me pass out. Like, some people have even noticed some other cameos, like Braque being shown here, as you can see him carved out of the stone, returning from Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story and Dream Team. And I'm wondering if there's a reference with the whole stone carving thing, if there's a reason why we're seeing these stone carvings. Now, like I mentioned before, you can make the ship move a lot faster. As you can see on the map, it's absolutely flying now, and you can even see it in the world itself when you go to the front of the ship. That's really cool, and thankfully we don't have to sit there and wait forever. So Mario & Luigi clear a challenge called Flying Start, and these are probably like the milestones that we've had in Dream Team and Paper Jam as well, like extra missions to accomplish as we play, but the bros get a speed bean and also a super nut. So it's actually confirmed that beans are in fact making a return. I don't know if there's going to be specific dig areas, or is this the only way that we can get them through gifts or through doing challenges, but either way, that's super exciting. Here's a look at the main menu. It's pretty basic with your items, adventure log, gear, creating plugs, which is like your badges, just all that stuff. You can now see what the charges are, which are these little square items that you'll pick up, and you'll actually be able to charge each of these in order to use them multiple times. And you got some new ones like auto syrup jar and auto herb, but probably does the exact same thing. After getting an excellent, one of the partners will toss the other one of those items. One thing Mario and Luigi never really had was proper side quests outside of the Toad missions in Paper Jam, but it looks like we might have them this time, as lots of the NPCs have little question bubbles, or at least little mouth bubbles above them, which makes it look like you can communicate with them for a specific reason. Maybe they have some tasks for you to complete. You can also see the missions that give you little pins or badges that unlock after you complete each one, and each one gives you rewards, whether it's beans or specific items. I also completely glossed over a part of the original overview trailer that showed a new brothers move, where it has Mario and Luigi throwing fire and ice together as they run through an area, clearing some of the ice portions and fire portions with their own respective abilities, which is pretty cool and reminds me of the hand abilities from Superstar Saga a little bit. Now, it also looks like there are little islands that are optional that are outside of the main ones, and these are mysterious islands, as they discover one that's called the Mysterious Swirled Reef. And if you look at the bottom, there's actually 20 mysterious islands it looks like we're able to find. So yeah, we're gonna have to be searching the seas for everything that we can see. Okay, now let's jump over to the Japanese website, as there's tons of new information there. Now, once again, this is a very rough translation, so there's definitely going to be some mistranslations, especially with the names, so don't pay attention to the names really. But they say this one's Friend. I don't know if this translates to friend or not, but we're just going to call him Friend for now. But he's on an island occupied by the Koopa Troopas, so he's probably on Bowser's Castle Island. He becomes friends with Bowser Jr., interesting enough, so now we know why Bowser Jr. was looking sad. He seems to be friends with this little plug guy, but as he's friends with Bowser Jr., he's also trying to help Mario and Luigi and trying to fix Concordia with them. Then we have this ragtag group of kids who seem to just kind of created their own little society to try to help Mario and Luigi and try to help repair the world, and maybe Peach helps them out or leads them to help them as well. We then get to learn more about the villains, and says many of them are stationed on the Great Lighthouse Island. It says something about them receiving more energy and they're becoming more violent. So maybe some of them are not bad at first, but some of the evil energy from Socket and his group is making them bad. We then learn about the Extension Corps and how they're there to just please Socket, their leader. Then we learn about Socket trying to go through with his master plan, but it gives us a little bit of a personality with him as well. It says he has really bad memory and he gets names wrong, and he's really particular about numbers. I don't know why they had to give us that information, but that's pretty funny. But yeah, he's just trying to take over Concordia. It's just not Mario and Luigi getting in his way. It also seems to be Bowser's army as well, because we learned that Bowser's trying to take over Concordia, of course, and he's also trying to go toe-to-toe with Socket. So yeah, as we see in that giant war in the sky, he's trying to defeat Socket as well. We then have Bowser Jr., which seems like he's trying to help his dad the best that he can, but also make friends with a new unlikely ally as he teams up with Friend, which is pretty cool of him having his own little buddy. It also seems like Bowser and his minions have no problem or quarrels with the residents of Concordia, and it even says that they actually can get along with them, which is pretty interesting. The website also has tons of new footage, so here's some of the bros moves. is a Luigi context sensitive area where Luigi decides to just jump through a fence. Also show off the Bros attacks with some new enemies like these plugs with glow-in-the-dark hands. They show off that thundercloud attack but against these weird bee looking things. Then we have a Bros attack against these Koopa Troopas that includes a stopwatch, which is pretty insane, but it does confirm there is no boss finisher move like we've seen with Bowser, at least that we haven't seen so far, but it does show them using this same move that they used against Bowser, where they take turns just smashing the enemies with their hammers, and I guess you pretty much just push A or B depending on who's up, which is pretty cool, and man, they go pretty insane with this, flying all the way up in the air, still beating them and then slamming them back into the ground both together, which is just crazy. Then there's another Bros attack where Luigi throws up this dreidel compass thing and you have to create your own tornado by filling the slots with fire or ice orbs, and once all the slots are filled, the tornado forms and you can move around the room freely with this fire ice tornado and just spam the X button, kind of reminding me of the Luiginary tornado from Dream Team, very similar to that attack where their enemies are just getting beat inside the tornado by hammers. But yeah, this also makes me wonder if lots of these Bros attacks will be coming from specific islands and specific areas, as this one looks like it could definitely come from the Fire and Ice Island. There's definitely more to be seen here, because some of these are actually returning from past Mario & Luigi games. We can see the return of the jump helmet from Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside story, which allowed Luigi to wear a helmet and slowly move forward as Mario would hop off of the spring. Now, I think they could do something cool and unique with this time, actually putting it into a 3D space, allowing Luigi to move from the left and the right, forward, backward would be pretty cool. And we can also see the return of the Yoo-Hoo cannon from that very same game, being Bowser's Inside story, which pretty much filled multiple cannons with either Mario and Luigi, and you had to pay attention to which one was which, so that way you pressed the corresponding button when they were fired out at the enemy in order to deal damage. Now, once again, they could do something really cool by having this in a giant 3D space with even more cannons and just make it even more spectacular, like we've seen with the Bros shells. Now, the other scenes just show us some new enemies, including these punching bag looking guys that when you hit them, they kind of wobble back and forth just like a punching bag. We have Spikes returning in Bowser's army from Mario & Luigi Paper Jam. We have this weird totem pole thing that acts kind of like a giant pokey, shooting different segments of its body out depending on what color is showing. And we can see the return of piranha plants, and some being buried in the ground and sleeping. We can also see some new plug abilities that we haven't been able to see before. This one is a double shoe, which allows you to do double jump on the enemy before jumping into the Bros move. The flame plug actually allows you to do fire damage after your attack. And at first I thought this plug reduced the amount of damage that you took, but it looks like it prevents you from falling over once you're taking damage down to 0, as Mario's at 10 health but takes 32 damage and doesn't die. And this plug allows you to use an item during battle, but it returns it right to you once it's used. This scene shows that you can use two plugs together in order to combine their power, where Mario uses the double hit first, and then after the attack a spiked ball hits them by combining the double hit and the spiked ball plugs. This one combines the shockwave ability with the spiked ball, so after the shockwave hits after getting an excellent attack, a spiked ball will still fall and hit a random enemy. And this one shows a double spiked ball, so instead of dropping 2, it just drops 1 gold one. And one of the last things that we actually get is Luigi using his context sensitive thing within an actual battle. Like I said, it looks like some bosses are going to allow Luigi to use this special thing where he jumps and grabs the tongue of the plant and actually is able to fling it into the background. And it looks like you have to time your fling in order to fling it into the air vents to deal more damage. And like I said, this is so completely awesome. If every single boss in the game has some type of Luigi context sensitive thing, making it very unique in how each boss can be a lot more interesting than the last, I really love that. Now there's a whole bunch of little things like renders and PNGs on the Japanese website, but you guys can check that out for yourselves. But thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This actually took a lot longer than I thought it would, so please make sure you leave a like and subscribe to show your support, and I appreciate all of you guys. To stay up to date on all things Mario & Luigi Brothership and Nintendo in general, make sure you have those post notifications turned on. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.